Hello and welcome to Fire in the Belly. Today we have myself, Mighty Pete, and we're joined by Sharon McNulty. Good afternoon, Sharon.
Hi, Pete. Thanks a million for having me on now.
It's an absolute pleasure. It's great to have you on. So tell us, Sharon, who are you? What are you doing? Where are you from?
Sharon McNulty. I have my business. I'm the founder of Serenity Sparks Joy. I'm a KonMari consultant, gold certified KonMari consultant now at this stage. And I go into people's homes and businesses and I help them declutter and organize their lives. So in a nutshell, that's what I do. While we're moving their physical clutter, we're actually dealing more so with their emotional clutter.
Wow. You're going to have to break this down for us. So who's KonMari for a start?
KonMari, I suppose I got into KonMari myself. I had 3 small children and I was working and I was spinning plates. And what would happen is, I love a tidy home. My home was never really tidy, but I tried hard, I really did. And I would have tidied every weekend. And by Tuesday it was as bad as ever. And I couldn't understand why. Now, on the surface, my house was lovely. Nobody would have ever said that it had an untidy home, but I knew there was stuff in the cupboards, all of that. So I came across this book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Kondo, and she's a Japanese tidying expert. It was on the bestsellers list, so I thought, right, I'm going to give this a go. And Mary had said, and this actually was what hooked me. Mary had said that if you tidy your home using the KonMari method, you'd only ever have to tidy up once in your life. For me, that was a given. I just no time. Now, the cynical part of me thought, yeah, this is a great way to sell a book. I'm sure it isn't right. But I was at a stage where I just needed to do something. I knew that life had to get easier. I knew I couldn't spend my whole time tidying, so I thought, right, I'm going to give it a go. And I often say, I ordered it on the internet. It arrived on a Saturday and I spent all of Saturday reading it. So it only took me a day to read. Now, I would have been an avid reader then. It only took me a day to read and I started on the Sunday. See, even by Sunday morning, the difference I found, it was really cathartic. So I kept going with my entire home and it took me about 5 months. And what we do is KonMari is different to normal. Normally, whenever we're tidying, we tidy room by room or cupboard by cupboard. And really what we're doing is we're just moving our stuff from one place to the next. And that's okay, but you're not really dealing with the issue. And I suppose I liken that to emotional issues where we're putting it to one side and we think, oh, we'll worry about that later or we'll deal with that later. You don't want to. And with our items, the reason we don't let go of them generally is, there's a couple of reasons, but a big reason is because there's emotions attached to them. And in order to let go of those items, you really have to, I suppose, work on those. In order to let go of the items, you have to let go of the emotions, and that can be hard. So normally whenever we're tidying, we're just shuffling things. We take a flurry every now and then and we throw things out. And it's as bad as ever shortly after that. So what I did was, once I had my own home complete, I realized the difference it made. We do it in its entirety. And as I say, it took me about 5 months part-time to do it. But I raved about it to my friends, and I think they were actually sick of listening to me. So they said, okay, if it's this good, come on, show us what you've got. So I've 2 amazing friends, and they said, right, okay, help us. So I went into both their homes and we KonMari'd their homes, and the difference to them was fabulous. So I realized, no, it's not just me. I suppose I thought maybe it's just me, maybe I was just easily pleased, but no, they got the same reaction. Life's so much easier. We know what we have, where it is, and it's easy to keep tidy. And I realized, you know, there's a lot more to KonMari than just physically moving our stuff. So I went away then to, I realized there was a course in London, and I went away to London to meet and be trained by Kondo herself. And it was a weekend, and I had the most amazing weekend. Now, at that stage, I wasn't sure whether I wanted to do it for a living, but I was going to chat to people about KonMari for a whole weekend. That was a good for me. But when I was on that course, I realized, you know what, this is definitely a career. I suppose it was something new to Northern Ireland. nobody had ever heard of it. And I thought, can you really make a career out of it? And that really sort of stopped me for a while. But once I went to that seminar, I realized, do you know what? You can make a career out of it. This is absolutely life-changing. Hence the name of her book. It was life-changing. So I went through, there's a big process after you go on that seminar to become qualified. You have to do an entire home for somebody, send off reports, get them marked, get them checked, do an exam, and then an interview, and that's all just to get qualified. So I suppose since then, that's what I've been doing. I have been starting my business, and I still work in the NHS. I am a health visitor at the moment, and I just know now's the time to get going with my business. So I've just handed in my notice now for the next 6 weeks, and I'm going full time in my business. So I'm delighted, Pete. It really has been life-changing for me, both in my home and in my personal life. I never would have thought of this.
Wow, I love your energy, and I love the way you've taken to it. I mean, I would say hands up as well, as my wife read the book, and I'm going to say 2 years ago. Maybe I can't remember the timings, but she would still be a very avid KonMari fan, and we still have everything folded in our drawers to this day. So I'm very lucky to have that in my life. So it's yeah, it's listen, it's a great way to be. So yeah, I can this is making a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
You talk about, so when did this journey start for you then exactly? Sorry.
It was sometime in 2014. I can't remember exactly when. And I have to say, I've heard people say before, a book really changed my life, but this really did. Not only did it change, as I say, my home, it gave me greater clarity in my home. And now I moved home since that. I moved home to a new house about 2.5 years ago, maybe coming 3 actually. And do you know what? I brought nothing into my new home that didn't spark joy, that I absolutely didn't love. And I think before I'd have done KonMari, I would have brought the furniture that somebody had given me that I didn't really like. I would have brought all those boxes in the attic that I hadn't a clue what was in, and put them straight up into this attic. But I only brought those items I loved. So it means whenever I come into my house now, I get a lovely feeling, a lovely sense of serenity. And I suppose that's where my business name came. That was in my ideal vision. I wanted serenity at home. And now whenever I come home, I can definitely say my home's serene. And I just love it. There's nothing about it stresses me out. It's great. And you know what's priceless, it really is.
Explain that serenity for people, and that, you know, how does it feel, and what does it look like?
Yeah. And before KonMari, as I say, my home, I felt was never tidy. The children were doing as children would normally do, and they were putting things down, and I was frantically tidying after them, and they were no different from anybody else's children. But I never felt I could get on top of it. So whenever I'd be going out and about, I always felt guilty. There was always a nagging sensation in at the back of my mind, thinking, I should really be doing whatever it is, organising, doing this. Or it was almost trying to find something would have been my difficulty. I had a filing system that was second to none. I had my pay slips from I started my job 30 years ago. I kept every bank statement for 6 years. I kept everything, thinking I needed it. So for me to find something, and I had sub categories, for me to find something was a nightmare. But in my mind, I had kept thinking, right, yeah, this is brilliant. You're so organized, Sharon. This is fabulous. I wasn't a bit organized. I was probably too organized, but I had too much stuff. So for me, looking to find something was quite stressful. And I wanted to feel serene. I wanted to be able to put my hand on whatever I needed. I wanted to be able to go straight to, if I knew there was something I wanted, I could go straight there and know it was there. And that's what serenity is for me. I can come home now and I don't feel I need to tidy. Anytime I go out, I come back home and my home's sitting just the way I want it. Now, it's not always perfect, but that's not what it's about. It's about my home working for me, that I can sit in front of the fire and read a book and just enjoy my home. And for me, that's serenity. I suppose serenity is different for different people, but that's what I had wanted. Just to feel homely, to feel my home just was working for me. That I have to say, it is beautiful, but very basic. There's nothing special about my home, but because I love everything in it, it just sparks joy for me.
Love that. I mean, it's great. Tell me, is organization and tidiness, are they one and the same thing?
No, it's not. And I would have probably thought I was highly organized, just not tidy. I was organization with too much stuff isn't going to work. It really isn't. And I suppose that's where I would have been squeezing my clothes into the wardrobe, literally taking the laundry and squeezing the hangers in. And yet whenever I was going out in the evening, I had nothing to wear. So I was highly organized, but no, definitely not tidy, because things just weren't sitting. So again, if you have too much stuff and there's a lot of clutter around you, I suppose that increases the stress hormone cortisol. And that's where I would find, yeah, you could be organized and just not tidy. The house just doesn't look tidy. But it's not about having a show home. And I think a lot of people think, oh, if I can't marry my home, it'll have to look like a show home, or it has to be minimal. It doesn't actually, and that's the beauty of it. What we do is we change our mindset and we surround ourselves with only things we love or we need, and we let go of the rest. And because we're letting go of the rest without guilt, we're letting them go with confidence and thanking them, then it means we don't feel guilty that we're not keeping that expensive outfit, that we're not, I suppose that we're not keeping something that somebody had given us and we always felt we didn't like, but we couldn't let it go. So I suppose that's the beauty of KonMari. We're not feeling guilty about keeping anything or about letting go of anything, and we're loving what we're keeping. So that works beautifully, it really does. And it's changed the mindset, I think. And before this, my terminology was, I'm getting rid of stuff. And so a big deep clean to me was getting rid of stuff. And even by the very connotation of that, you're not, I have a new, I suppose I love my belongings now, and a new appreciation for my belongings. And because we're thanking them as we're letting them go, it means that we've appreciated where they've brought us to. So we needed it at one stage, and it brought us to the person we are, but we just don't need it now. So we thank it and let it go. So I think that's so powerful. It really is.
Is it a big problem?
Clutter. Yeah, although I have to say, clutter is the sort of thing that they don't give it a lot of thought. They know they're just feeling a wee bit uneasy in their home, but they can't put their finger on why. They might know that their house isn't working well for them, but they can't put their finger on why. And then whenever they do realize their home's cluttered, it's so overwhelming. They don't know where to start. And what normally happens is whenever somebody would start it on their own, they would, I suppose, come across photographs or something sentimental that totally derails them. So for the rest of the day, they'd be looking through photographs or the sentimental item. And that's, I suppose, where KonMari comes in, because it's so structured. We do it in a certain way so that that doesn't happen. And I suppose it's being kind to ourselves. Our homes are the way they are. It is what it is. And whenever I go into clients, I would say, I've been there. There's no judgment. This is the way it is, and there's nothing else you can do about it except move forward. But I do find, unless they're ready to do it, Pete, it will be difficult. They may want to change. They may not be ready for it. That's the big difference.
Do you tend to find the inside as a reflection of the outside? So, I don't know, a messy house outside might be a messy head inside as well. Is there a correlation, do you find?
Oh my goodness me, that you've hit the nail on the head. And that's why KonMari works so well. Whenever we're surrounded by stress, as I was saying, we have the cortisol raised. Now, we all need a bit of cortisol, and that's healthy. But whenever it's raised all the time or for long periods, that is, we have high levels of stress. And what happens is it affects our health. It creates dis-ease in our bodies and ultimately disease. And so what we're actually doing is we're spinning plates frantically. And I know I was doing exactly that. We're operating at a high level of stress. And over time, we know that's not good for us. So we definitely do need to get started on it. I suppose normally whenever I do meet somebody for the first time, there's four sentences they'll always say, four statements they'll always say to me. And the first one is, whenever I say I'm a KonMari consultant, they'll tilt their head to the side and they'll say, what's that? So I explain what it is, and then they'll say, gosh, I really need you in my life. So they know that something's not right, but it's only whenever they hear somebody talking about it, they realize, yeah, I really do need this. And then the next thing, the third one they'll say to me is, I would be mortified to let you into my house. This will be the worst house you'll ever see. Everybody says it. And you know what? It just is what it is. And then the fourth thing is, because we start with clothes, they'll always say, I bet you that's the most clothes you've ever seen. Now, I do say to my clients, every single person says this. We all think that our place is worse than, we're comparing ourselves to each other. And it doesn't matter whether you have a big house, a small house, whatever it is, we're all the same. We're all starting from the same stand, from the same starting point. And so it's just having the courage to say, yeah, I have a problem. I need a solution and I'm going to work for it. So I have to say now, it's once they get their head around it, they're flying on with it. But it's been brave enough to say, yeah, I need this. I need a wee bit of help with it. And that's lovely.
I mean, how is it serving them to have the house or their environment in that condition?
You see, it's not, Pete, but what happens is this doesn't happen overnight. And I'm not even talking about hoarding. I'm talking about the person who, whenever they open the third drawer down, all the bags just boomerang out at them, or their kitchen drawer doesn't close because there was too much stuff in it and things have fallen down the back. Bulging cupboards that you don't know what you have. Those boxes, as I say, in the attic, and you've brought them from the last 3 house moves. So this happens almost without them knowing it. And it's not until they hear about clutter and the effects that it has that they look around and they think, yeah, that's exactly, my home is cluttered. So they get a new awareness then at that stage, you know, which is lovely. And once they get that awareness, they know they need to work on it. So it sort of creeps up on them because it is the way it's been for years and years and years. And I suppose I would always say I worked hard to keep a tidy home. I really did. But I tidied the way my mum showed me how to tidy, and she tidied the way her mum showed her. So, and it wasn't that we were lazy or we weren't trying. It was just the way we tidied wasn't effective. It was short term, but we needed something longer term just so that we didn't have to keep repeating it. And nowadays we're far too busy. We really are. Life's too short to spend your whole time tidying. With KonMari, she was right. You'll only ever have to do it once. If you do it, but you have to complete your entire home, otherwise it will rebound. But she was right whenever she said, if you do it in its entirety, you'll never, ever have to tidy again. And come here. That's brilliant, yeah.
Would you describe it as a way of life?
Totally. You'll always see my clients get a breakthrough at different stages. And there's a lot of learning, a lot of self-learning from this. They become introspective, they realize, oh my goodness, and they have a light bulb moment. And I worked with a lovely client maybe about 3-4 weeks ago over Zoom, and she realized that she had 23 starting packs for a slimming club. And whenever she looked at them, she realized that she was actually a bit heavier now than she was at the very start of the starting packs. So for all these years, she really wanted change. She truly wanted it, but it just didn't lack the momentum to keep her going. So that was such a light bulb moment for her. She realized, yeah, there's a lot of flurry of activity at the start. There's a lot of buying all equipment and buying storage, and then everything stops. So she has decided now that doesn't matter what the scales say, she's absolutely going to be on top of her game, and she'll love herself no matter what they say. So she's thrown out the scales, and she's vowed no more Slimming World groups. And so it'll be interesting to see her journey now whenever she's working on her self-image, because that's as much as what it is. You realize what's holding you back, and it may be those belongings. Another lovely client, again over Zoom now, probably about 8 weeks ago, and whenever we started, she says to me, Sharon, I don't like any of my clothes. She really didn't like them. And so she says, if I only keep those that I love, I'll end up with nothing. And that's something I hear all the time. She was fabulous. She really was. She stopped dead in her tracks 4 hours into our session. And I thought the camera had actually frozen. And she said to me, she turned around then and she said to me, Sharon, I feel as though I'm standing in a boutique looking at all my beautiful clothes. Now, had I said that to her at the beginning, she'd never believe me. So there's a breakthrough at some stage for everybody. And because they've got that breakthrough, they realize, wow, this is how it's meant to be. And once you get your home tidy, you realize the emotional difference you feel, the mental difference you feel, you don't want to go back there. You really don't. And if you've done it properly, you'll never have to go back there. Now, you could rebound for a short time, but it doesn't take long to put it back in place. And that's the beauty of that. It really is.
Oh, that's great. I love it. And there's so many great things in there. And I like it when people get a breakthrough from seeing their own patterns and seeing what's going on.
Yeah, because somebody else could tell them and they'd never believe it.
No, absolutely. And it's, the eye can't see itself, which I think is such a great saying. And well, I'm perfect. I don't know about everyone else, but eventually you got to say, well, okay, maybe I'm not just that perfect, or, I can accept help, or, do you get people, almost sort of that are organized and yourself coming in, you kind of go, well, I don't know if there's that much for you to do here. Do you get the other side of it as well?
I do, actually. And I haven't come across anybody yet that hasn't needed it, because they think, right, I'm organized, I don't particularly need it. And I always encourage them, it doesn't have to be with me, but even themselves, to go through the process, starting with their clothes. And if they think, yeah, I definitely love all those clothes, then I will take on the next couple of categories with them. Because while they feel that they have done the process, unless they've done it right, it won't have clicked with them. And as you go through each category, we do clothes first, and then we do books, then paperwork, and then miscellaneous, and finally sentimental. And it gets harder as you go through the process. So if they haven't got the hang of choosing properly at their clothes, it makes the whole process a lot more difficult. So that's why I suggest start at the clothes. And if you've definitely done the clothes, well and good. If not, go back over your clothes and then we'll tackle the rest. No bother. Paperwork can be a big one for people. Oh my goodness. And that was when it clicked for me. I wasn't really into my clothes. I had a lot, but I had loads of storage, so it didn't really bother me until I realized, right, okay, I'm squishing them in. And if I had an ordinary size wardrobe, I couldn't do it. So what I was finding was the paperwork was my big thing. Now, I didn't feel I needed to do the paperwork. And whenever I read her book, I thought, oh, sure, I'm okay with the paperwork. I'm highly organized. But no, that's when I got my breakthrough and realized I didn't need to hold on to all those pay slips. Oh my goodness me. For a while then, what I did was I started to scan things on the computer. That was a nightmare. I'd never suggest anybody do that in its entirety, because I then had all these files in the computer. It might as well have been physical clutter because I couldn't find anything. So I thought, right, okay, this woman knows what she's talking about. I'm just going to go for it, go for broke. And it was brilliant. It's actually very cathartic.
I was going to ask you about man caves.
Yeah.
I have a bit of a man cave in my office, and I still have all my paper, all my wage slips. So
You're right.
yeah, so my
Yeah.
wife hasn't got a hold of them yet. It's but it is funny, and you know, that's like, because certainly for my business and what I do is, well, this might be the perfect excuse, but I need transactional history. I need transactional you know, records. So how do you work that when, you know, this part of it is required?
Well, because it's not only what you love, but it's what you need. So you think your paperwork, there's a lot that you'll need for the tax man, there's a lot that you'll need for a gain, and maybe those pay slips, those early pay slips for you would have been really important just to see how far you've come, to see the difference in your life. So it may not specifically be that you need it to give somebody or just balance the books, really. But it might be just that you need it because it'll be important for you to see where you were and where you are now. I suggest you keep it. If in doubt, keep it, definitely. But maybe go through that drawer, Pete. I know a lot of people have a drawer or a cupboard and they've batteries that are dead, or they don't know whether they're dead, the fuses. They have the bags in there, they have cords and they have no clue what the cord's for, so they have to keep it. And they have old phones and they're going to do something with the phone someday. So we generally have an area in our house where it's the dumping ground, and your man drawer probably is that. I'd say it's
I couldn't possibly say.
yeah. I'd have a word with your wife and I'd say she'll agree. Yeah.
I would say so. I would say so. Interesting. You talked about different generations there. You know, and you were saying even, you know, your mother's way of tidying and all the rest. I mean, we have come into much more of a disposable / throwaway society, really. So life's very different as well, though, isn't it?
It is, and a lot of times, and I have found chatting to clients, what we're actually doing is we're going out to buy either because we don't know we have it or we can't find it. And especially with our clothes, there's a lot of those shops now sell clothes very cheap. So you think, oh, sure, it's only a tenner, it's only 20, it'll do no harm. However, what happens is we get a thrill whenever we're trying it on and we're at the till. That thrill soon goes. As soon as you get home, you put it into the wardrobe and it's sitting in the back of the wardrobe. The tag might never be taken off and we feel guilty. We think, I'm going to wear it someday. We know in our heart of hearts we're not going to, or if we are, it's only going to be for 1 or 2 days. Especially the young ones, actually, they seem to buy and buy and buy. And I do feel it's a fulfilling a need there that can't really be fulfilled with things. It's really finding out who they are and appreciating their own inner beauty, and that will fulfill that need a lot more than that item that they just had to. And I hold my hands up there, I would have been up in the middle of the night twice a year queuing outside a shop for a sale. And I had so much stuff in my hands, I had difficulty carrying it. I was buying for the whole family. I had difficulty carrying it. Now, see, by the end of the year, the children didn't wear half of it. We ended up having to give it away. So for me, I thought it was going to be a bargain. I love a bargain and still do. But I don't go near a bargain now unless I absolutely love it anyway. But for me, I was saving money in my head pre-KonMari. I was saving it. I thought, gosh, isn't this fabulous? And my mum used to say, Sharon, a bargain's only a bargain if you need it. I didn't understand that. I heard words, but I didn't understand it. But she was actually very right. She really was. So now I know my clients who have gone through this don't do that anymore. I suppose their spending habits change. And in one way, it's difficult. I struggle putting things into my house from time to time because I can't find the exact one that I absolutely love. So it takes me a long time now. If I don't see it straight away, it takes me a long time to get it. But I'm willing to put up with that. I'm willing to put up with that, because then I know whenever I do get it, it'll be the right one.
It's amazing there, you know, and appreciation. And I mean, would you have any idea how much people would either waste or not actually use that, you know, tags never come off, or despite, as you say, it could be cheap or given to them or whatever, that it just never comes into play? Is there any percentages or any idea
I don't know exactly, but what I do know is I met the most lovely girl, and we just happened to come across each other. And we do often say, I would have, with my nursing, I would have met her years and years ago. And she trained just above me. And we met each other maybe about 2 years ago in the foyer of our local hospital. And we got chatting anyway. And she said, Sharon, I would love to do this. I've bought the book, I've read it twice. And she bought Mary's second book and read it. But she just stalled. She just couldn't, because clothes were her thing. She loved clothes. She just stalled. And what I said, sure, I'll go and give her a wee hand and just get her started again. She ended up selling a lot of her clothes. They were beautiful clothes. And she got £1,300 out of that. So that was £1,300 sitting in her wardrobe that she wasn't using. She didn't appreciate she had it, and also that somebody else could appreciate it. So she was actually giving that to somebody, or selling that to somebody that would love it and appreciate it. So that's one client. Others, not everybody wants to sell their items. And I suppose whenever they're selling it, they think, right, I need the time to sell it, I need the energy. And a lot of times it's just easier to give it to charity and let them get the money for it. So I would say there's lots and lots and lots of wasted money. But what I would suggest they think about is, don't think about, whenever you're letting go of items, the amount that it cost you. Because whenever you paid the money, that was it. Your money was gone. Think about giving this joy to somebody else who'll absolutely love it. Never, ever have anything in your wardrobe or your cupboards that you're not going to use. And never have anything under the bed in your cupboards or in your attic that you absolutely love. My thing is, bring it down, enjoy it, use it, and don't waste. Don't waste having it there and not being able to enjoy the things that you do love.
That's so true. I mean, have a few nice things and cherish them, as opposed to wardrobes full of stuff.
Having loads, yeah.
Tell me this, going right back, what does fire in the belly mean to you, Sharon?
Fire in the belly. I wouldn't even have thought of fire in the belly before I started my business. I never took risks. I just toodled along and very easy going. Not a lot would annoy me or get me worked up. I was happy with what I had in life, but I didn't realise there was something else out there. I really didn't. I suppose for me, I would have, as I say, I've worked in the NHS for 30 years, and had I not come across KonMari, I think I'd still be there. In fact, I know I'd still be there. I would have been nervous to take that. It would have been a huge leap to me, because I wouldn't have believed I could have done it. But fire in the belly for me is that belief that what I'm doing is changing lives. Now, I know it's changed mine. I know it's changed my clients. And I know that there's so many people out there that need this and that don't know about it. And that's what I've never, before I started my business, I never would have come on a podcast. I never would have done anything like this. And I suppose that's blown me away, because I think, where did that come from? But I know it's come from the fire in my belly, that other people need to know this. And it's my duty to spread that out there, so that they realize that they too can have the same feeling, same serenity that I have.
Wow, I love that. And it's amazing. And the words you used at the start were saying, I believed I could do it, which is so powerful, to take on a belief in yourself.
Yeah. Now, that didn't happen overnight. It certainly didn't. As I say, I had no business experience whatsoever, and I've gone into this blind. And it's like, I do say it's like a roller coaster. There's times I'm thinking, oh, I'm doing great. And then, oh, it's terrifying. So it wasn't until I got into the, I suppose, personal development, that's when I realized, my goodness me, this really works, this personal development. And that has been for me the thing that's given me momentum. It's been the catalyst really for me to believe that I could do it.
No, it's great, and having that catalyst and making that change, it's always an amazing thing. So take us right back. Where are you from originally then, Sharon? You talked about your
I live
family.
in Oma, and I have lived in Oma most of my life. I was the youngest. There was 2 girls in our house, my sister Frances and I, and there was very little age difference between us. And lived mum and dad, and mum was a nurse, mental health nurse, and dad worked in the housing executive. So we tootled along for the first couple of years, and then mum and dad fostered 2 young brothers. So they're quite similar in age to ourselves. There isn't a wild difference. And they give us everything that you could possibly want in life. Honest to goodness. Now, they wouldn't have had a lot of money, but it was always important for them to give us whatever we wanted. So we were spoilt rotten, we really were. And I suppose growing up, I've always been really, really positive. I never knew that you couldn't, that you were negative. I would have come across negative people, but to me, I didn't really surround myself with them much. And growing up, I glided through my childhood. I really did. I have lovely memories, and I never got too annoyed with anybody, never fell out with anybody, and I only ever had two good friends really throughout school. But it wasn't important to me to have a big circle. So I worked hard then, and got to big school. And that's when I suppose I realised, gosh, not everybody is the way that I am. I think differently from most people, and I tend not to worry. What I generally do is, I see this, and I thought everybody did this. I feel as though I have a toolbox, those toolbox with screws and nails in them that you would put up on a garage wall. I feel that my worries, I would have put them into that toolbox, and there's no use worrying about them until I could do something about it. But I automatically thought that's what people do. So I would pull it out whenever I was ready or had the time to worry about it and put it back in. And funny, my sister would say, I would fall into the river and come out dry. And throughout the majority of my life, that did, because I was so positive. Now it changed. I got divorced about 13 years ago, and it changed just leading up to that time. Whenever, I suppose, there was a shift in how things were, and I wasn't as positive. And it's interesting because I would have found things started to go wrong, and whenever one thing would go wrong, the next, and that was totally alien to me. And I thought, oh gosh, what's happening here? Now, for about 2-3 years, I would have really got into that whole loop of, oh, it's not going to work, sure, why would it work? And then I took a deep breath and I thought, no, I have to do something about it. And I came back then to the positive thinking. And see, whenever I came back to the positive thinking, my life changed again. Now, I didn't realize why it did. I didn't put the emphasis on the fact that I just thought I was going through a good phase again in my life. So I didn't correlate positive thinking to things much easier, negative thinking to it not, until about, and I just continued on. And about a year ago was the first time I got into positive thinking and personal development, really per se. My sister came along. Her sister-in-law was doing or a family member was doing an evening of positive thinking and personal development. So she says to me on the Sunday, Sharon, will you come to it with me to support her? And I said, yeah, well. Totally forgot about it, Pete. It was on a Thursday night. Totally forgot about it. And so that was fine. On the Thursday evening after work, my sister arrived round and sat at my table. She never comes to my house actually. And she says, Sharon, will you come to that event tonight? And I says, oh, forgot all about it. Of course I will. So I arrived, sorry about that. I arrived, it was Clonafullen, and from Carrickmore, and she was having a group of people on her panel talking about personal development and how far they've come. That was the first realization I had that, yeah, there is a link between how you think and what's happening in your life. And from then on, my goodness me, there was things I hadn't a clue about. I didn't know why they would have happened, and it all started to slot into place, which was lovely. Wait till I tell you good, and actually on that night, the first night, I just set up my business. And I think that's really why I wanted to go. I just wanted to surround myself with all this information. That night, she had a fella, Benny O'Hanlon, from Todd Sleep, and she had him in the panel. And Cleona at the end says, has anybody any questions? Very few people put their hand up. I didn't, because yet again, at that stage, I wasn't ready to put myself out there. But I went up to him afterwards and I says, Benny, I'm starting my business. Have you any tips or suggestions? And he was so good, and we met and he got me through, I suppose he would have been my first mentor really. He got me through the first part of my business. Now, we lost touch after that, and I thought nothing else of it. And a couple of months ago, just pre-COVID there, my sister says, Sharon, Cleona has another evening. Do you fancy going? I says, I'll go surely. I'd gone to the opening of the envelope since then. I said, I'll go surely. So off we arrived anyway, and we were sitting in the front of the audience. And Benny comes in, and he came in late and right up onto the stage. And the evening was almost over, and Cleona says, has anybody any questions? And of course, in those, there's always times when nobody wants to say their question. So Benny took the mic and he said, can I just say to you, if you've a question, ask it. Because last year there was a girl sitting in the audience, didn't ask her question, and she came up to me afterwards, and she's the most wonderful business idea, and her business is going from strength to strength. And had she not asked that question to me afterwards, it might have been different. So I, of course, thought, that's me he's talking about. And I put my hand up and I says, can I just tell that was me that Benny's on about? So that for me was so important, how things go full circle. And oh my goodness, the importance of personal development within us, especially if you're looking for change in your life. And I was at that stage for my business, yeah.
Why is it, what caused you to get out of your own way? So, previous year, it's not wanting to be seen. And yet the following year, you're sort of, you're there and you're volunteering it, and, you're happy to take part. What switches there, do you think?
I think I'm a great believer in mentors. Had you said that to me a year ago, I wouldn't really have understood the importance of it. And mentors give you belief in what you're doing. They've been there, they've done it, they've worn the t-shirt, and they're there to, I suppose, streamline you to where you need to be, and I suppose give you belief in what you're doing. And I've had a number of different mentors over the year, and each one of those have added something different to my life, different to my business. And they have, they've had such a positive part in my life. And one of them had said to me, and yet again, this was my light bulb moment within the business, said, Sharon, what you're doing is so important. I know what I'm doing was important, and I was telling people it was important, but I was nervous putting myself out there because, sure, what did I know? And I suppose you go back to that whole imposter syndrome, sure, God, what would I know, and why would people listen to me? But they had actually said to me, Sharon, if you have knowledge that somebody else needs, why would you hold on to that? That would be such a shame. And I do believe that now, and I truly believe that what I have is so needed. And for me to hold on to it, it would be a shame. Simple steps that anybody can do on their own. I have the information, and why wouldn't I put that out? It wasn't easy at the start, Pete. It definitely wasn't, and I was so out of my comfort zone. It's unreal. And there's still times when I'm thinking, oh, I don't know whether I can do that. I take a deep breath and I think, no, I'm accepting that challenge and I'm going to do it anyway. So that's, I suppose, why I'm putting myself out there, because this isn't just about me. Of course, it is about me in a way that I want to better myself. I want to make my business grow, but it's more than that. This is about everybody else and the difference it can make to their life. So that's exactly why.
I love it. Yeah, it is great about getting out of your own way, but that reframing of saying, I believe we all have. I mean, I believe we all have a fire in the belly, and it's our duty. I mean, almost how selfish to keep it to yourself. You know, everyone has a particular skill,
Mm-hmm.
and it could be tidying your home. It could be, you know, going to space. It could be whatever the skill is, and your duty is to learn it to the best of your ability, and then to share it with others. So it's
Yeah.
interesting that you can have, you know, on both sides, something you want to do and get out of your own way, but also then that it's your duty to stand up.
Yeah, it did take me a while, and as I say, it took me working with different people to really understand and appreciate that.
Hmm.
But now I know without a shadow of a doubt that's what I need to do. And I suppose that's why I've given up my job too, because I'm feeling at the minute I'm pulled. I love health visiting. I'd qualified as a midwife. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm in the NHS 30 years, but for me to give up that job just shows you how much I believe in this. And especially to give it up now in the middle of a global pandemic. But I know now more than ever, this is what people need. They really do. And there's no use me doing half a job and looking back and thinking, gosh, I should have, would have, could have helped other people or whatever if I'd have been brave enough. So that's a big step, but one that I had to do.
Absolutely. Well done you.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned there imposter syndrome. Talk to us about that.
Oh my goodness me. I, as a NHS employee, I got a wage every single month. I knew it was coming. I worked hard for it, I absolutely did. And my work was challenging, but so rewarding. But every month I knew that I was going to have my wages. So I didn't really need to grow per se. I was okay. And then once I have started my business and I suppose moved on, then I thought, can I really do this? Everybody else has loads of business experience. I don't. Look where I am. I haven't. And I suppose I would have compared myself to a lot of others who were, in my eyes, successful. Now, success is different now, and I know that. But then, to me, success was the business person. They looked polished, they had loads of money, they appeared happy, all of that. Do you know what? See, this last year has been an eye-opener for me. I realised that we all have a touch of that at different stages in our lives. This isn't any different from what other people have gone through, and everybody else has gone through the same, or most people. So imposter syndrome, yes. Can I do it? Am I able to do it? Surely I couldn't do what everybody else is doing, but it's well worth. I saw a fabulous YouTube video for I think it was Will Smith, and he was talking about the terror barrier. Sorry, he was talking about the terror barrier, and this is where it brought home to me that you're terrified and terrified. If you were going to jump out of an airplane, you'd be absolutely terrified the night before. You couldn't sleep. Your stomach would be in knots. Going up in the air, you'd be terrified. Jumping out, you're also terrified. But as you're then going down, at the moment of highest, I suppose, danger, you don't get that terror. So imposter syndrome is the same. It's once you throw yourself into something and you realize you're holding yourself back because of your belief, you're holding yourself back because you feel you can't do something. But once you're actually doing it, you realize, do you know what? I absolutely can. And that's, if you can push through that, that's whenever you start to enjoy what you're doing. So it still comes back. It sits on my shoulder every now and then and says, what do you think you're doing? Especially whenever I'm pushing myself that wee bit further. I get nice and content, nice and comfortable. It's like, right, okay, I've got this. And then realize, no, I don't. I haven't got this. Whenever I'm doing something new. And I think in order to grow, in order to bring my business to where I want it to be and where it needs to be, I need to push myself. So I have a notion that imposter syndrome will be coming, hitting me square in the face many, many times to come. It's just something I'm going to have to work with. And I don't think I can't imagine I'll get to the stage where I'll think, yeah, I've arrived. Because as sure as I do, there'll be something will floor you.
Just talking about that, and you know, as we all do, I think having an imposter syndrome, or having, your chimp, or having your, all the sort of potential knockbacks, and that's life. You're going to get curveballs from left to right. What do you think works for you in terms of getting around that? I mean, do you set goals, or do you take time out, or mentorship? What really is your thing?
I surround myself with the most wonderful people. I really do. And those that don't add anything to my life, I do have them around me, but not as close. And what happens is I don't let the negativity feed into me. So number one, and they do say surround yourself with 5 wonderful people that you want to bring you forward in life. I do that, but it happened organically. I didn't have to work at that. And I also set goals. So I have a morning routine. Now it changes, but I do have a morning routine, and the days whenever I stick to that, my goodness me, the growth, the learning, and what I'm able to achieve even before 9 o'clock is amazing. So I was in an accountability group in Think Accountability, and I had said, right, I'm having difficulty here. By the time I'm getting out of bed, I'm not able to get anything done before work. So what they suggested was, right, use me as an accountability partner and let me know whenever you're up at 6 every morning, because I said I wanted to get up at 6. So that was fine. I struggled with 6, I really did. But I found that I was waking up at 5 and really working hard to get back to sleep. So by 6 o'clock, I couldn't get up out of bed. So I changed my getting up time to 5. I was getting up at 5 in the mornings, and I was doing my goal setting visualization. Now, 2 years ago, I didn't even know this existed. But I was doing my goal setting, my visualization, my writing out my plan for the day, all of that. And that has given me focus. And I suppose because I now have focus, I'm not wasting a lot of my time doing things that I wouldn't ordinarily do. But so much so, I was actually in a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and it was Mike Armstrong, and Mike says to me, Sharon, what do you do for leisure? I realised, Pete, I didn't have any leisure. And I thought, that was a realization for me. I was maybe watching TV 1, maybe 2 hours a week. That was at tops. There was nothing else going on in my life. So I thought, right, this has to change. So I tried to get a happy medium, but what happened was I stopped getting up at 5 o'clock. I started binge watching Netflix. I went the other way. I think the other way is my default position. So I have to keep working at it. Now, for about 2 weeks, I just couldn't get the momentum back again. I'm back again, and I find this is where I need to be. The Netflix, binging, all of that doesn't serve me at all. It doesn't do anything for my life. I will, I suppose, dip in and out, but it's the goal setting, the getting up early, and having focus really is where I need to focus on myself, to move forward.
You mentioned goals there. I mean, are they time oriented? So do you set out goals for a period of time in front of you, or are they just certain achievement goals, or how do goals look for you?
Goals to me was monetary at the start, until I thought, right, no, this isn't what it is really about. But initially coming into my business, I thought I want to earn this amount and this amount and this amount, because to me that was success. And then as I realized success is working through my business and just moving it forward, I realized, no, it doesn't have to be monetary. But it is so interesting. I did a vision board. I enrolled with Kim on Thinking Into Results, and it was fabulous. And she was the first one to say, right, okay, Sharon, focus. And she gave me belief in what I was doing. And I did a vision board. And it's so interesting on my vision board. I was just looking last night, 5 of the things have come true. Now, before all this, I would have thought, oh, I was just lucky, or this was just the way things were. I realise I manifested it. And I know that sounds so, to anybody that doesn't understand that, they don't get it. But to me, I know that I made that happen because of my focus, because of all that. So yeah, goals to me isn't particularly financial. I know exactly what I want to earn. I know what I want to do, but I know the direction I want to bring my business in. And that's probably where because if I can do that, my financial goal will sort itself out. So I've taken I'm not in the direction of financial at the moment. I'm going for where I want to take my business. I'm keeping the goal in mind. Now, there's things that have changed in between times, but I'm still keeping the same goal. And every now and then I think, I have it. I absolutely have it. Whenever something slots in, it's like a jigsaw. Whenever something slots into place, I think, oh, that's it. I know this is the right, way I'm going. Or whenever I'm finding something difficult, I'm thinking, oh, okay. Before all this, I would have given up. I'd have thought, sure, there's no use for this. Now I know there's just a different way around it. So it's just strategizing, it's talking to the right people, and I do find it actually.
You mentioned there, it's Kim Calvert there at Dynamite Lifestyle, and that program really sort of helped your mindset as well. And I like that, the vision board. Would you tend to be particularly strong in visual or auditory? Do you know where your senses lie generally?
I don't know actually is the answer. I really don't. Vision boards to me, I'm not creative at all. I can't sing, I'm not creative. I have none of those skills, so I really don't know. I know the way I learn is by hearing it and seeing it. Mm-hmm. I can't learn just by hearing something. I need to see it as well, so I'm not sure. But that Thinking and Results course was excellent for me because it gave me the belief, as I say, but it gave me tools to bring it forward. So once I'd finished that, and I suppose this is the beauty of mentors, I've met some amazing people, I really have, that have brought me through different stages, and I dip in and out of all these. So I don't stick to one per se, but I take what I need, what my business needs to grow from all their advice, and I use it, which is brilliant, absolutely great. So yeah, Thinking and Results definitely is the most amazing program.
That's great. I mean, it's putting yourself out there. Was it foreign to you? The NHS would be quite regimented, I'd imagine, and you have your pay grades and you do your time, and 30 years is a long time, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But
and
then
you don't think outside the box, or I didn't anyway.
Mm-hmm,
no,
mm-hmm.
I was happy. I got my wages. I did what I needed to do and ticked along beautifully. And as I say, I loved it. I really did. And I love the people that I'm working with. I love the families that I'm working with. But I just feel the time's right now to go the direction of my business. And as terrifying as that is, I know it's the right thing to do. So I've never put myself out there. I really haven't. But I'm so delighted now. I really am so delighted. I feel so proud of myself. I really do.
Well,
I never would have thought that I could have done it.
That's a beautiful thing to say, to feel proud of yourself.
Yeah. And I suppose before all these personal development, I would have thought anybody that said that is up themselves or they think too much of themselves. But it's not even about clapping myself in the back. It's knowing that, having the belief that I'm doing something that years ago I never thought I would do, and something that will help my family and bring my family forward, and that I suppose a legacy that I can leave, which is great.
Wow. Do you like yourself and love yourself?
I do, and I can say categorically now I do. Now, there's parts of me that I wish that were a wee bit smaller or a wee bit smoother, but you know what? That's life. Yeah, there's nothing that I would, and there's nothing I would have changed in my life. There really is, no matter what I went through, because I think I suppose I have learned from everything that I've done. Even my body is the way it is because I'm 49, 48, 49. It just is. That's the way of it. And I'm loving life. I really am loving life. I'm blessed. I really am blessed.
Well, just to connect the dots for the listeners as well. So Grania is your daughter. So Grania McNulty, she's a couple of episodes ago. Grania came on and shared, and what an amazing 21-year-old woman, and what a beautiful insight, and you can see where it comes from. So it's a credit to you as well.
Oh, thank you, Pete. But she is amazing. Absolutely. She blows my mind. She would have listened to a lot of the things that I would have listened to. Her understanding of it and herself is just fabulous. And she was in Strasbourg last year, you'll remember, studying, and came home early because of lockdown. do you know what? We've had the most fabulous, fabulous few months. She's been such a good buddy, a study buddy, we would say. Brilliant. And she motivates me in more ways than you can imagine. She's brilliant now. She really is. So if I knew then what she knows, oh my goodness me, you just don't know where you would have ended.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, what advice would you have for your younger self, you know, if you could go back?
I suppose I would say, take the chance, take the risk, believe you can do it. And if you believe you can do it, you will do it. It's whenever we don't believe we'll do something, we don't want to try. And I would hate to get to my deathbed and think, I wish I'd tried it. I really wish I'd tried it. So now I would suggest go for it. And if it doesn't work out, it just doesn't. And years ago, we would have thought you have to get into a sensible job, you have to go for it, get the pension organised and stay there. Now it is brilliant. They don't have to do that. And if they don't start a sensible job until they're 30 or even at all, that's okay. The world won't come to a halt. So I suppose take the risk and enjoy the challenge. That's
amazing. And lessons in learning, you know, having done 30 years with the NHS, you know, and, you know, to have that, I think it's beautiful to have that sort of summary and so saying, you know, take the extra step for yourself.
Go for it is right. I know. And I know a lot of young ones now go, they travel. I never have dreamt of doing it. It just wasn't in my thinking. 2 weeks away was enough for me. And I think they are just brilliant. And my girls would travel a lot, and especially over the summer, whenever they were at uni, they would have worked away in the summers. France, China, different places. And they amaze me, they really do. Off they go at such a young age. And in fact, I went over to visit them this last 2 years in China, and they were organising things for me. At my oldest daughter, she's 24, she was doing an itinerary out for me. She didn't speak Chinese, but yet away she went. They just are fabulous, really, really are. And I suppose that sort of, I take a bit of that on whenever I'm with them. Because I think, well, you know, if you can head off to China and not know the language whenever you're 20 odd, I can do it at my age. So I hadn't a clue, didn't have a word of Chinese. I had a weak translation book. Come here, it was useless, absolutely useless. I even stopped carrying it because of all the different variations of Chinese. By the time I got to page 55 to ask them for the train, she gave me the train had gone. So we used Google Translate a lot. But I think because young ones now are so technically minded, they think nothing of that. So Google Translate meant nothing to, you know, so they thought, well, with my phone, I can manage anywhere. So they're fabulous. They really are.
Sure, you're one of the young ones too.
I am now. I'm definitely young at heart now. Definitely. I know. And even the joy that all that traveling brings you, I didn't realise that. I now know I want to see Asia in its entirety, and I would love to go for 1 or 2 months now once everything settles. It is beautiful. That's a place I always talked about, the Great Wall of China and all that, and thought, wouldn't it be great someday? But because they went, it encouraged me to go, and now that's opened up a whole new world to me. I think, oh wow, beautiful people. The Chinese are beautiful people, and I definitely want to see more. So yeah, I'm young enough to do it. Yeah.
I love it. Well, what age do you see yourself as, out of interest?
It depends. It really does depend. Whenever I am in zone and doing great things, I think, oh my goodness, I probably feel, I'd say late 20s. I know I look late 40s. So, but it doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. I am what I am. And I think, why would I change? Some days now, depending on the motivation, I think, oh yeah, I know I'm in my 40s, I definitely do. But generally, I've got a new lease of life now, I really have. And I'm loving it, making the most of it.
I love it. Yeah, it's amazing because most people, you know, and I mean, I'm lucky enough to speak to a lot of successful people and, you know, people that are living their goals and their passions, you know, and it's sort of 27, 28, 26 is all quite common, which I think is great because that's a time of vibrancy, energy, enthusiasm, and listen, age is just a number, but to sort of feel that, even though we are what we are, but you feel the younger.
Yeah, and funny, I don't fight against me. I really don't. It doesn't bother me. It really doesn't, because I think it is only a number. I can't see it changing. It didn't really bother me even whenever I turned 40, and whenever I'm going to turn 50, it'll not bother me either. I don't care about anybody knowing it. I know I look the way I do, and I suppose a lot of people think, "Gosh, they'll think I'm really old," but you're so what? It's just a perception, isn't it? You are that age, surely, but it doesn't make you really old. It's all relative.
It is totally relative, but I mean, compared to an 80-year-old, you're a young thing.
See, whenever I was in my 20s, I used to think somebody in their 40s was ancient. And now, even in my conversations, I'm chatting to people who are maybe in their 70s, thinking, actually, they're young, Yeah, isn't it just, it is all relative.
That's it, perception and relative to what, it's like I'm rich compared to who, I'm poor compared to who, and poor me and whatever. And it's like, listen, it's your status in life is how you perceive it to be.
It is.
It's
and it doesn't define you either.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Can I take you back to divorce and your takeaway from that?
Yeah, I suppose my life was going beautifully up until it wasn't. So maybe a year or two beforehand. But while it was a really difficult time, I felt that once the shift in my mindset happened, it got harder and harder and harder. I still would have tried to stay positive, and I suppose I had 3 children, so I had to go through. I was surrounded by the most fabulous people, and I think that's what got me through. My mum and dad were amazing. Oh my goodness me, amazing. And again, my friends, and I think, and they sort of knew. They knew when to be there and when not to be there. And you need that. I think you need the balance, because there are things you have to work out. There are things you have to do on your own. And it's them giving you, being there when you need it, but giving you that time whenever you need it as well. I think that was very important. So I never knew anybody that was divorced. No, none of my friends' parents was divorced. Nobody. It was so strange. And I suppose it was a big decision. It really was. But it was one I'm glad now I did. Simply because it was the end of that and the beginning of a new normal. But it took a lot of thinking to get me there. I'm very comfortable in my own company. I suppose I love company, don't get me wrong, but I would know a lot of people who have got divorced and go from one relationship into the next, looking for something. I'm really comfortable where I am and love then the company whenever I am surrounded by friends. But it definitely, you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about your coping strategies. And I suppose I'm really proud of how I did manage. Now, not everything was perfect, don't get me wrong, but I think it doesn't be until you come out the other end again. But there was maybe 2-3 years after that, it was almost like dominoes, where when one thing, when one thing goes wrong, it's sort of, it's like you push one domino and then it all goes. And I do believe it's my mindset. I really do. So once I started thinking positively again and started believing, yeah, we will get through this, things just started to pan out beautifully. So I wouldn't change a single thing about it. I really wouldn't. And because I got married and I had 3 beautiful children, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have them. And they are brilliant. They really, really are. So there's nothing about my life I would have changed, really. And which is hard for a lot of people to think, because it wasn't easy. But I feel that it just had to happen for me to get to where I am now and to have that strength,
I was just doing a bit of math here and working it through, because I kind of love sequences.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just noticing there, you're 49, yeah?
Mm-hmm. I'm 49, yeah.
So it's the sequences of seven. So I'm just thinking there now you've a new business. 7 years ago, KonMari, you're saying that was when you first read the book. 7 years before was the divorce. 7 years before Grania was probably born.
Yeah,
It's almost like I can't remember. It was a cyclical wave. But
that's right.
actually, they do say we follow patterns in our lives, and seven seems to be a very common. We go on a peak event happens, and then we go through an event, and we go through a procedure. So I was just curious about whether seven meant anything to you particularly.
That's very quick of you to pick up, actually, Pete. Never ever would have thought about it, but you're right. There is a cycle of seven. That's true. Would it be interesting to see in 7 years now what life holds, which is exciting. It really is.
Absolutely, it's amazing to have that. And I know it's always interesting. And a regular question I ask people is what's as a 7-year-old, what would you be like? And it's the beautiful thing is quite often we find that the default person, your character, your person, your sort of natural state, people step away from themselves around the age of 7 because that's when expectations, beliefs, and all the rest start to come on board. And what I have tended to find is that people start to, they get to a point in their life when they're saying, I don't really care anymore what anyone else thinks. And it could be the passing of a parent. It could be that they're at that stage in their own life that they have their own kids to justify to, and I find that's beautiful when people start to let go, and almost the connection as well between sort of KonMari and a divorce, KonMari and sort of leaving behind 30 years of NHS. It's all these things. I don't know whether I'm sort of reading into it too much, but I'm loving all the crossovers.
You're right, actually, Pete, because if you think of what KonMari is, it's actually surrounding yourself with those things that you love or need.
Hmm.
It does happen organically that then the people you surround yourself, you love. And I suppose the things that you're doing, I don't do things now because I feel a need to. I
Yeah.
do things only if I want to and only if I love it. So that, I suppose that's the crossover for me for KonMari. And it wasn't that anybody in my life was toxic or anything. It just, you naturally, I suppose, gravitate towards those that bring good into your life. And I think that's where KonMari is too, where you're getting a whole new awareness of who you are and what you want in life.
Absolutely. And I think it's like a 7-year-old, you focus on the thing that you genuinely love to do and passionate. To me, that's what fire in the belly is. Someone says without default, and I can tell from you talking about your energy, it's kind of when you love this topic and love what you do, it's kind of in the nicest way, you can't shut them up, which is great because that carries the energy and the passion.
Yeah.
But it's the same as a 7-year-old when you ask them a question about something, and I don't know whatever the particular thing is, and that's great. Whereas in between times we get embarrassed about what we do, or we're not quite sure, or we're not maybe focused, or our parents think this, or a teacher said that, or my nose is too big, or this happened, or I failed at that exam, or whatever it is. We eventually get back to a default state, which I think is beautiful. And KonMari is no different. That you let go of the things that don't bring you joy in your life, and you focus on the things that do.
Yeah, and that whole shift in mindset means that what you're doing then is you're encouraging other things you love and other people you love into your life because you're making room for them. So you're emotionally and physically making room for what will bring you joy. So then you do attract it. And I suppose it's back to the manifest and the vision board, all of that. So it is brilliant now. Definitely is.
So tell me, what does your vision board look like? Are we talking a big scrappy loads of post-it notes, or is it quite neat? What's as a default person?
Couldn't do it. I know. And it's not, I tell you what, it's not that I'm really neat and tidy and I'm not creative. So I'm somewhere in the middle of it. And because I can only draw stick people. So what I had to do was I had to print photographs out of things that I loved. So I suppose a lot of people are on my vision board and people that I look up to. And one or two of them are successful business people. And I have them on my business or my vision board because I suppose I take lovely traits out of some, advice out of some, And that's the direction that I would be having them on my vision board. I had a car, I've got the car, I have so there's a lot I have, but they're all photographs or something printed off the computer stuck. And yeah, I did have to do it a couple of times so that I would get it right. It's sad, isn't it?
No, not at all. Listen, it's great. Well, listen, they say a picture paints 1,000 words, so that's that's exactly right. Talk to me about heroes and inspirations. Who stands out in your life?
Mm-hmm. I have the most amazing friends, and while they may not be businessmen, businesswomen, anything like that, they are fabulous, and I surround myself with them. I have two, or I have a son who is 23, and whenever he was in P1, he met up with two friends, two wee boys, and we were in a country school, so there was only 5-6 boys in the class, so the three of them were really pally. So myself and Eden and Christine got so friendly from then on, and those girls know every breath I take, and they both bring something different to my life. So to me, they are true heroes. We have such fun together. They support me through anything I need, and vice versa. Another really good friend I've had since school. Remember I said I only had two really. I met her in secondary school. Yet again, different friendship, totally different friendship. We could meet up. We may not meet up for 3 months, 6 months. As soon as we get back together again, there's no, you didn't call, you didn't this, you didn't that. It's straight in. And again, we know everything about each other. We know without saying the non-verbals. My children definitely are amazing, so supportive. I am so proud of the three of them. And they're just wonderful, wonderful human beings. They really are. They're, I suppose, what give me my fire in my belly as well, because they are, they're great. Neve is my eldest. She's 24 and she's in Wales. She's just finished a year ago, finished her physics. She did a degree in physics, and she's now going on to do teacher training. And Kieran's 23 and he's a swimming coach, and he lives locally, which is great. And then Granny, as I say, she's going into her final year in Brighton. So there were steps and stairs, and I suppose we've had some great times through the years, some not great times, but that's what life's about. You just have to get on with it. But they are definitely an inspiration to me. So my heroes, while they may not be successful and not everybody knows them, are all close to me, and they definitely see me through every stage in my life. They're brilliant now.
That's lovely. It's lovely to have, and to have that level of awareness and appreciation. It's beautiful. What's the thing or some things you're most proud of?
I suppose starting my business. Starting my business is probably the newest. I mean, I was proud when my children were born. I was proud whenever you see them doing the walk and all their developmental milestones. That was pride for them. That was pride for them whenever they've graduated and they're doing their career that they want. Pride for me is my business. Mm-hmm. Believing that I can do something and then going ahead and doing it. And I suppose my sister doesn't live that far away from me. They'd be very close anyway. And she would be a big believer in my business because she's done it herself in her own home. And whenever I say I'm proud of my business, she'd be one there right behind me, give me a pat on the back saying, well done you. So while I feel proud, the people around me too are, they're very quick to acknowledge what I've done and very quick to say, yeah, well done, which is lovely.
I'm really taken by the crossover between the KonMari, so that side, but also then the mindset side. So the happy home it's almost 2 in 1. It's the happy in your home because of what you surround yourself in, and as you say, your family, your friends, and your closest circle, which is the most powerful. But then also the mindset and your attitude towards it all, and the two just seem to go very beautifully hand in hand, really.
They do. And Pete, whenever I was doing my own home, I knew I felt much better. I knew it changed my life, so much so that I then started my business. But it was whenever I did my thinking into results that I realized, oh my goodness me, this is just so powerful. I could see better then the correlation between the two. And I know now during COVID and the restrictions, a lot of people are struggling. They really are, because they're having to stay in their home most of the time, because their home may not be the way that they want. And I know how that feels. I know that, well, I don't know the chaos, but clients tell me about the chaos that they find themselves in, that searching for things. So in order to declutter their homes, they're decluttering their minds. And I suppose I did touch on that at the beginning of our conversation. I wanted to do something. I wasn't sure how best to help. Something that would reach everybody. And what I've decided to do is a 4-week introductory course, both on mindset and why we're feeling the way we are. Because quite often, if you know why you're feeling that way, you then can understand and go easy on yourself. And then, so that's the first week. Second week is about the challenges in our home. And we have lots of them whenever there's clutter. Third week is everyday tips, tricks, and strategies in order to keep your home the way you want it. And then the fourth week is the introductory to the KonMari way of tidying. So I think it beautifully encompasses both the mindset and your home, so that they at least get an understanding of how to move forward, why they need to, and how to move forward. So they can do it online, and that's the beauty of technology now. They can do it online, and if they want to download it all in one, they can. Some people work at different rates. Some people take longer than others, and I know some want it all today and then can cherry pick what they're going to do. So it'll be up and running now in a couple of weeks, and I'm so proud of it. I really am so proud of it. Yeah.
It's really interesting, because you were saying there your own process that was over like 5 months, I think you were saying, for your own. You know, was there both sort of physical and mental and emotional sides to all that, or was it just, had you a really messy home?
No, I had a large home. My house was really, really big, you see, so there was lots of storage, and I always thought I couldn't keep it tidy because I didn't have enough storage, so I'd always bought something else to put stuff into. And then whenever I started doing this, I was only doing it at weekends. So it can take any length of time to do your home. It depends on how much you have. Mine took 5 months because I was doing it every weekend. Some people can do it in 2 weeks if they're 12-hour days for 14 days. And I suppose for anybody that's not sure, they'll think that's a while long time to sort out clutter. But the reason it takes us so long is because you have to go through every item in your home. So it generally, I would say, would take about 150 hours per home to do, which is a long time. And people generally lose momentum, or they get to a stage where it doesn't look too bad and they stop, and they can't pick the momentum up again. I have taken on a team now, Pete, and once things have settled down again, myself and my team are going into homes, and we are, from Monday to Friday, we're KonMariing their entire homes, so that by the time we leave on Friday, everything will be the way they want. Everything will be spark and joy for them, and their home will be easier to manage. So there's nobody else doing that. And it means, and we're only doing 5-6 hours a day. We don't want to exhaust people. So I have a team, we'll have about 10 of us on different days, if need be. And we go in, and that's exactly what we do. We take the pain of it out. We do it straight away. We do it in such a short time that then it's easy to keep tidy. So while it took me 5 months, I'd have loved somebody to do it with me in the week. So it just depends. It's their journey, and they have to do it in their own time. And as you were saying, because you're dealing with your emotions, that's the beauty of having somebody there just to help you through it.
That sounds awesome. So 5 days, you get a full-blown team. You know, I'm almost thinking like changing rooms here. You have music playing in the background, you know, but I know myself, even not having that focused effort, because it takes that, rather than left to my own devices, I'll get easily distracted. It's the magpie effect. Ooh, something else shiny. But so you can actually go in there and that focused duration and actually bring it all together. So that sounds awesome.
It is brilliant, yeah. And we arrange then for all, if they want to sell their clothes, we'll have them all together so that they can sell it. We arrange any donations to be picked up, the shredder to come, all of that, because I'm finding whenever you're overwhelmed by the clutter and you think, where am I going to start? You would start in a flurry somewhere, and then, as you say, give up the magpie, look somewhere else and start somewhere else. So it's piecemeal. So this is a step by step. We do it in a structured way, and it works. It so works. And even with other people in your home that haven't got on to KonMari yet, I really struggled with that at the start. I wanted to tidy home, and everybody had to be on board whether they were ready to or not. And bless them, they weren't. They really weren't. My two children, one of my children got it, no problem. Grania, my youngest, wasn't ready to do it, but I was, so I cajoled her into doing it. It wasn't successful. I would have known that. So she came to me then afterwards, maybe a couple of months afterwards, and she says, Mum, could we do it properly? Oh my goodness, the difference was night and day. So what I always say to my clients is, don't push anybody into doing it before they're ready. They will come when they're ready. They really will. But they have to be ready, otherwise it's not going to be successful. And with my son, actually, he wasn't ready at the start. And because I had tried with Grania and it wasn't that successful, I didn't say to him, but he did come to me then a short time later, and he says, Mum, will you help me KonMari in my room and my things? That was like music to my ears. And he actually loves, we fold in a certain way. And I'm fascinated. He loves the folding. It's very therapeutic. Whenever you're folding an item, before KonMari, I would have thought, actually, that's a load of faff. Why would you spend time smoothing out items? Just hang it up. But now I realise this is more like relaxation than anything else. So he loves that whole smoothing and KonMari folding, which is great.
It's a beautiful way of looking at it, and it is funny, I suppose, and I suppose showing or is showing by doing as well. It's because I know my wife would try and train me regularly, and that's great because having 3 very young kids in the house and folding, which it's done impeccably, is great until the sort of the 1-year-olds decide that they would rather unfold everything. So
I know.
It's always interesting trying to spark joy out of that one, but
you must say, though, I do work with children in homes, and I suggest any child 3 years and up, this probably strikes fear into you, because are your twins 3?
So I have a 3.5-year-old, but the twins are 1.5.
Twins, the twins are busy then, right?
Yeah.
Any child 3 and over can do this process, make the choices and help you do all the folding. I know even the thought of it, but they
actually, in fairness, you're absolutely right, because our 3.5-year-old, she loves being part of it, and doing it, and certain things she loves to do, and we sort of teach her to karate chop the clothes, which is a bit of fun.
And that's what it's about. It's bringing fun into it, so that she now is having such great, I suppose, guidance for life there, lifelong skills that are transferable, so she can take them with her.
Tell me, what skills have you transferred then from 30 years in the NHS? What sort of become key for you?
I suppose a lot of times I would be working with families, and you hear a lot about their story, a lot about where they are and where they want to be. And KonMari is the same. KonMari is no different, because it doesn't matter why you're going into a home. They're trusting you. They're trusting that you're going to look after them, that you're going to not have any judgment, that you're going to be empathetic. And that's where I come in. And I suppose because all my years nursing, confidentiality has always been a big thing for us. It's in our code of conduct. So I never would dream of chatting about anybody or talking about anything. What happens in that home stays in that home. And that's, I think, why people trust me, because they know I'm not coming in thinking, oh my goodness me. It just is what it is. Whenever I see somebody else's clutter, I start thinking of the logistics of what needs to be done. So, and I'm not emotionally attached to their clutter. So it doesn't overwhelm me. I don't think, my goodness, where are we going to start? I start putting strategies in place. And I suppose as we're going through their items, you do hear about that time whenever something happened or a low time in their life. And it's just being with them. And it's not trying to solve their problems, because that's not what it's about. It's about supporting them through their journey and making sure at the end that before you leave that they're in a good enough place. So I think it goes hand in hand with my nursing, with my background. I'm bringing a lot of my skills that I would have learned there and taking it with me, because it's perfect for it.
Do you think you are where you're supposed to be?
Definitely. I don't even have any doubt in that. And on the days whenever I be thinking, oh, I wish this would have happened or that within my business, or I had maybe contacted someone and didn't hear back, and then I realised, no, there was a reason why that didn't happen. I am a big believer in things happening for a reason. I'm definitely where I have to be, where I need to be, and where I should be at the moment. And that's, I think, whenever I'm not striving for something else, that takes a lot of pressure off me.
Absolutely. I mean, that comes across as almost an alignment, you know, where you're supposed to be. Yeah, it's amazing there, because even hearing you speaking and, you know, publicly speaking, as you say, you're coming on podcasts and, you know, being proud of that as well. It's quite a difference in language and tone. You know, I mean, nursing in itself and you know, being part of the NHS is an amazing thing, but it doesn't. The best way to sort of say is, maybe for some people, just because you're good at it doesn't mean that's your passion. That's what you're supposed to be. You know, that's what you're meant to do.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It is okay to be different and, you know, to take the stand.
Yeah, because if we all stayed where we were, there'd be no growth, no movement. And yeah, as you say, been in the NHS that length of time, I definitely was able to help lots of people, but I feel I'm helping them in a different way now, and that's great too. What we do, I see the rewards of that before I've left that house that day, and that's beautiful. It's hard to beat. I'm standing clapping like a seal whenever they get that breakthrough moment, and I'm sure they think, oh my God, this woman's gone mad, but I really do be. I'm nearly, oh, they get it. It's made a difference, and that's beautiful.
What's your superpower?
Oh, I don't know, actually. My superpower. What gets me moving? Peter, I never even thought of it. I would say it's probably, I go easy on myself. I'm not my own worst critic, because I do feel if I was overly critical of myself, I wouldn't do half the things I'm doing. If I was overly critical, it would hold me back. So that's probably, while that's not pushing me on, it's not holding me back. So I'd say that's probably what it is.
Yeah, well, it's a beautiful way of looking at it, you know, and you know, really giving yourself space too.
Yeah.
Which is nice, as opposed to giving yourself a hard time.
Yeah, and I suppose that's what I would tell my clients. So why wouldn't I, you know, walk the walk, talk the talk? I say to clients, whatever stage you're at, just be thankful you're at, go easy on yourself, be kind to yourself, and just accept the challenge and move on. So then, I'll probably do say that to them, because that's how I feel. And it serves me well, and I know it serves them well too, because whenever we are, and we can be our own worst critic, you know, that wee voice sitting on your shoulder, saying, no, they'll never be able to get their house tidy. And I think social media has a big thing to do with it nowadays, because all we're seeing is perfect homes. All we're seeing is the perfect lives. And I think it's very hard for some people to imagine what's actually happening behind the camera, because quite often it's not how it appears on the camera, and it's whenever they realize, no, not everybody has perfect lives. I don't want to, I don't have to strive to be that person that they see on social media. Then there's a realization then. And I suppose I've seen over the years, people have been putting up things on social media that haven't been the way it actually has been. And it's only that I've had that insight into their lives that I'm thinking, no. I actually came off social media for, I would say, a good 5-6 years. Simply because of that, I thought, no, it's not real. It really isn't. And then it was only with my business then I thought, people need to hear it some way. This is probably my platform. So I still do struggle with it now. And I mean struggle as in keeping on top of it, what I need to do, because it's so alien to me. But yet again, I've accepted the challenge, and I'm going to do it. I may not be doing it perfectly. And even at the beginning, actually, I have I have a niece, and she's fabulous. She's really good. And she was ringing me to work saying, Sharon, did you see that photograph you put up on your social media? I hadn't a clue. I was actually putting up photographs with, the camera reel at the bottom, with big black spaces at the top. I didn't know how to edit a photograph. I didn't know any of these things. So it really has been a steep learning curve for me.
That's great. Well, it's interesting, you're saying that, when people are putting forward a social picture that's maybe not what you know to be the true selves. And I was curious, I mean, what are your core values then?
I'm authentic, and that's the big thing. And I suppose I'm vulnerable in that I'm not afraid to say that I don't have it all right. I really don't have it all right, but that's okay. And I would say 2 years ago, for me to have to say that or to be vulnerable, I couldn't have dealt with that, because I didn't think that people would want to hear that. But I do think we're all vulnerable at different stages. So I'm authentic, I am empathetic, and I'm very trustworthy. If somebody tells me something and they say, please don't tell it, it will never, I'll be on my deathbed before anybody hears that. So, and I think those values work hand in hand really with helping clients to get to their end goal.
Absolutely. I suppose if you're in their personal space, in their home,
yeah,
amongst their things, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, what's your mantra?
Oh, Mary Kyo is a great mantra. I can and I will, and that is fabulous. I have to say, I can and I will is whenever you think that you can't and you won't, just switch it on its head. Brilliant. So I suppose that's stealing from Mary, but it really is true. If you believe you can do something, you will do it. It's a no-brainer. So it's probably the best one that I could think of at the moment.
Love that. And a guilty pleasure for you?
Oh, Real Housewives. I know. And it's the sort of trash, and I know it is. I'm not unaware of it, but I love it. I think I love their homes. I love the style, and I know it's not about real life. But do you see, if I can just dip in and out of it, I love it. I really do. And I think to myself, it only lasts an hour, but it's like popcorn for the brain. You don't have to think. You don't have to do anything. You just have to sit with your mouth open the whole time. So that's my guilty pleasure. And I think to the day I die, I will, because there's so many of them. And as I say, my default probably is that sitting in front of the TV just binge watching. So I don't now, I really don't. I just stop myself, but I still have the odd wee episode in here or there.
That's all right. Listen, it's got to be all in balance too. It's all well and good saying, yeah, I'm gonna sort of run and hit my goals, 16 hours a day, but you got to have downtime too, and whatever it is, it's Real Housewives or whatever, that's okay.
You'll have to start it, Pete. It's really good.
So I can't. My wife watches something and she loves it, and I'm just sort of looking across and going, that it doesn't match what she does for a living, and you're kind of going, okay, but listen, we all I think that's also been true to you. Again, accepting that we do need time out. It can also be a very creative time, as you say. I love that expression, popcorn for the brain. It's giving yourself space, and for me, I find, great ideas come from when I go out for a walk or in the shower.
Yeah.
And it can actually just give your brain a bit of time to compute and to catch up.
Yeah.
Whilst,
It's very much needed, because I think whenever you're going at full throttle the whole
Mm,
time, you can't really be as creative because you're so busy doing.
sure.
And quite often, whenever you take your foot off the pedal and are, you just you're not doing anything in particular, that's when a lot of things come to you.
Mm, absolutely. So if you're going into a home, what's the sort of to try and sort of find the lay of the land? What's the go-to spot? I mean, you mentioned there the drawers in the kitchen. There, they sound like a good litmus test as to you're gonna find.
Yeah, what we do, first of all, I chat to people either by Zoom or the phone. I prefer to see the
Mm,
place. And most of my work at the minute is over Zoom, actually. And it comes with its own challenges, but it's been so successful. I've often been put into a flower pot to hold, the phone up. So it's amazing how creative people are. But we normally do I like to see what what the layout is, and what their challenges are. So that's where we start. And then I have a bit of an idea how best to help them. So whenever I'm going in, first of all, I do just go right around their home, the areas that they're happy with, and we talk about it. And then I have a plan. And we do a house greeting as well, because I think it's important to do that at the start. And it just gives the client a wee bit of breathing space. Now, this is somebody who's been so busy, hasn't taken time to just breathe, and just spending a minute or two just thinking about the beauty of their house and what we want to get out of it is beautiful. And a lot of the clients would find that. Not everybody wants to do it, and that's okay. And then we start in one category and we just work our way through. So I suppose if you think of the clothes, we bring every single item that they own onto the bed. Now, that in itself can be momentous, but that will create the overwhelm that they need in order to change. So if you imagine, they can then see exactly how much stuff they have. They realize, I don't need all 15 pairs of black trousers or 43 white tops. Don't need all that. And that's a catalyst for a lot of them to never go back there. They've realized, my goodness me, this is such a waste. Look at the money I've wasted. So once they get that, then we start moving forward, and then they're choosing item by item by item what they love, and they're letting go of the rest. They're thanking and letting go of the rest. So as I say, it's structured. We follow step-by-step guidance, so they never really stop the momentum. This keeps them going. And then by the time they've reached those drawers in the kitchen, they know exactly what to do. They've got it. We tidy similar items together simply so you know how much of everything you have. And whenever they're storing them again, they're storing the similar items together. So if you imagine your man drawer, all you need to do, if you didn't want to do anything else, is just store similar items together. So put the batteries into a wee box together, put the cords together, gather them up with a tie, and you will see straight away, should you never discard anything or let it go, it's still much more orderly, and your drawer will then close, or it'll be much easier to get something from it.
And yourself, did you have any weird, strange collection habits?
I didn't actually, no, but what I did realise was, by me feeling that I was organised wasn't serving me. By me
Mm,
trying to hold on to everything just in case, a lot of my stuff I suppose would have been just in case.
mm,
Because I have the space, it would be, I'm going to hold on to that just in case somebody else needs it. Or just in case I have, there's a cat needing 4 boots, or in case somebody else needed it at some stage. Just in case is not a good reason to hold on to it. And I suppose that's what I realised. So it's the guilt, the just in case, or the what if. are a lot of the times why we hold on to them. And mine was the just in case. So I was always going to be prepared. I was going to be like the Girl Guide, always prepared. If somebody needed something, I have it. And in fact, I would not tell you, good one, even after my children had grown up, I carried a nappy. I tell you, a nappy in my handbag. Why did I do that? In case I was out somewhere and somebody needed a nappy. Now, I don't know why. I don't know why. I had a bag like Mary Poppins, and there was everything in it. So I have to say, getting rid of that nappy was fabulous. I knew I was going to have no more children, and it wasn't that I was keeping the nappy, but it was just in case somebody was out somewhere and needed it. Now, so no more.
Is that a pleaser gene that you want to serve others, and even with nursing and what?
It probably is. Do you know what I think it was? It was to make life easier for somebody. That's what it was. I always want to, and I wouldn't say as much people please as make life that wee bit easier for them. And maybe that is then with the knock-on effect, please them. But it's, I suppose, because I know, and whenever my kids were small, as I say, they're steps and stairs. My eldest was 2.5 when the third one was born. So we were busy, we were frantically busy. And maybe that's what it is. I knew what it was like to, and I don't even think I ran out of a nappy at any stage or anything like that, but I don't know why. So it was to make life easier for others. And that's probably what, and that's, I would say that's the driving force behind my business a lot of the time. I know what I'm doing is going to make life easier for them. So that keeps me going.
Awesome. So tell me, I mean, is there any particular book recommendations or things that you would recommend for people, both either mindset or obviously on the KonMari side?
Yeah, KonMari was definitely the life-changing magic of tidying up, and that really was life-changing. And I never would have dreamt that a book would have changed my life, but it did. From, I suppose, personal development side, love Think and Grow Rich. I read The Secret whenever it came out. I didn't get it though. You know the way people would say that was big for me? I read it as though it was a novel, didn't take anything on. So I reread it then, and I reread it the way you meant to, and it meant so much more to me. I realised a lot with the likes of Think and Grow Rich and all of those books, Awaken the Giant Within and all. You don't have to read them like a novel. You can put them down, pick them up. Grania had introduced me to psycho-cybernetics. Love it, love it, love it. But I was getting frustrated because I wasn't getting back to it, and then wasn't really making the most of it. So what I did was I started listening to it on YouTube. Oh my goodness, it was brilliant. Really enjoyed it. Same with Lead the Field. I'm listening to Lead the Field. I have it on my phone, and whenever I'm driving to work in the morning, it's 40 minutes. I listen to it on the way in, I listen to it on the way out, and I work 3 days a week. And by the end of the week, I have listened to the whole Lead the Field over and over again. It's a couple of hours long. And I think that's important, even though you're listening to the same thing over and over and over again. I take in different parts of it on different times. One of my nieces would say, it's like a cult. But if this is a cult, I'm in. I'm absolutely in. This is the most wonderful, wonderful information. And in fact, she's now listening to Lead the Field and loves it.
It's amazing. I suppose the same with even, KonMari in your house. And like I say, I know from my own experience, the beauty of opening a drawer and everything is folded, it's like, okay, if this is a cult, yeah, I'm perfectly happy with this.
Sign me up. Yeah.
It's like, it's a great way to be.
I'm sitting in the front seat.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm just curious, and really, what would you say is your fire in the belly then?
It's really to put the information out there that everybody needs. At the minute, not everybody knows they need it. At the minute, not everybody knows it's there. They know there's a problem. They don't know what the problem is. And if you don't know what the problem is, you don't know what the solution is. And even if they knew the solution, quite often it's difficult to work through it. So that's what my fire in the belly is. I want to get this word out to everybody, absolutely everybody, that your home can work for you. You can have serenity in your home and your home can spark joy. And that's what gets me on the likes of your podcast, and it takes me to the next level of really pushing myself out there and out of my comfort zone. So definitely knowing that this works and everybody needs to know about it, and not everybody will want it, but at least if you know about it, you can make a choice.
Absolutely, love it. So where can people follow you, reach out to you, sign up for your course? Where can people go?
My Facebook, my website, and my Instagram are all Serenity Sparks Joy. And my courses are on Education by Sharon McNulty. And what we're doing is you can sign up. I have a couple of different courses up and running depending on what you're looking to do and what your need is. And one of them is for those people that are just too busy. They don't have the time to devote 2 weeks or a week or 5 months to their home. So what I've done is I have broken it down so that within a year, spend only 5-10 minutes a day, no more, you're going to have your home totally decluttered. So that's for the likes of the busy mum, the busy professional who just can't do it. And it's given them small chunks of things to do whenever the kettle's boiling or the potatoes are in the boil, whatever it is, they can do it then, and it makes such a difference. So it's great. So Education by Sharon McNulty, or serenitysparksjoy.co.uk.
Awesome. Love it. Sharon, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for sharing as much as you have. And I wish you all the best. I look forward to hearing more about it in the future. So thank you.
Pete, thank you so much for having me on. Really, really enjoyed it. Thank you.
My pleasure.